Hi guys, I'm sure while deploying, all of us have at some point of time come across this word called CORS. It often causes some errors and some discrepancies in your front end and your back end. So today we're going to understand this whole CORS issue and CORS, what it means. So we're going to be pretty simple over here. I'm going to read out from here so that I'm only stating facts and we're going to understand this concept together. So let's get right into it, okay? Cross-origin resource sharing is a mechanism for integrating applications. That makes sense because you have your backend, you have your front end, and you're sort of integrating it, okay? So it's therefore integrating applications. CORS defines a way for client web applications like the front end that are loaded into one domain. So you always have two separate links, right? Like this is your domain and you have your Vercel domain, right? Okay, one domain to interact with resources in a different domain. Perfect. So the front end wants to interact with the back end. This is useful because complex applications often reference third-party APIs and resources in their client-side code. For example, your application may use your browser to pull videos from a video platform API, right? So not just here, but our front end, our application could be using some video API nowadays, some API keys that we use for integrating AI in our apps. Use fonts from a public font library like Google Fonts are used a lot of times, or display weather data from a national weather database. So that's again your API. CORS allows the client browser to check with the third-party servers if the request is authorized before any data transfers. Okay, so the request has to be authorized. Now, the most interesting part over here is understanding why this is important, right? Why is cross-origin resource sharing important? So, in the past, when internet technologies were still new, cross-site request forgery issues happened. These issues sent fake client requests from the victim's browser to another application. Still not clear on how it happens. This is the part that really explains it, okay? So what happens is that, say the victim, say you logged into your bank application and then you were tricked into loading an external website on a new browser tab, okay? The external website then used the victim's cookie credentials and relayed data to the bank application while pretending to be the victim. So basically that third-party application website is using your cookies, your bank credentials and hacking into your bank application, right? While pretending to be the victim. Unauthorized users then had unintended access to the bank application. Perfect. To prevent such cross-site request forgery, all browsers now implement the same origin policy, okay? So in same origin, what we mean to say is that from the same origin, I want things to happen, okay? So CORS wouldn't be a problem, right? But is that really practical? Today, browsers enforce that clients can only send requests to a resource with the same origin as the client's URL. The protocol, port, and hostname of the client's URL should all match the server it requests, right? Okay, for example, consider the origin comparison for the below URLs with the client URL, okay? So this is your client URL and these are the URLs that you need. And if you observe over here, some of them are same origin, but not all, okay? You have different origin, different protocol, and these are the reasons because you have different ports, okay? So basically what they're trying to say is that the same origin policy is highly secure, but it is inflexible for genuine use cases, right? Cross-origin resource sharing is an extension of the same origin policy. You need it for authorized resource sharing with external third parties, okay? Authorized resource sharing with external third parties, exactly what's happening over here, right? So this is your third party, this is what you're trying to share, okay? So that's where CORS comes in, okay? It is an extension of the same origin policy. For example, you need CORS when you want to pull data from external APIs that are public or authorized. You also need CORS if you want to allow authorized third-party access to your own server resources. Okay, makes sense. So if you were the weather API or something and some third party was going to access your resources, something like that, okay? Now we're going to understand how this cross-origin resource sharing works, okay? So we know that your browser sends an HTTP request to the application server, receives data as an HTTP response and displays it. In browser terminology, the current browser URL is called the current origin and the third-party URL is called cross-origin. Cool. So when you make a cross-origin request, this is the request response process, okay? The browser adds an origin header to the request with information about the current origin's protocol, host and port, okay? So this is your origin, right? The domain, protocol, host and port. This is added to your request, okay? So now what we are sending is the request itself and the origin header, okay? The server checks the current origin header and responds with the requested data and an access control allow origin header, okay? So if you see over here, okay, we have our origin, which is this, okay, the Vercel app, right? This is your port, everything, come on. The protocol, host and port, yeah, obviously. Protocol, host and port, okay? Port is, I guess, Vercel.app, no, it should be a number, right? Yeah. Anyway, so you have this and you have your access allow control allow origin, right? So this is true and this is your this thing, right? And where is this going to? This is going to render.com, okay? The browser sees the access control request headers and shares the return data with the client application. Alternatively, if the server doesn't want to allow cross-origin access, it responds with an error message, okay? Then we have cross-origin resource sharing example, okay? So I think this was also pretty good, okay? It kind of gives us a good idea of what's going on. Now we have, for example, consider a site called https news.example.com. This site wants to access resources from an API at partnerapi.com. Developers at partnerapi.com first configure the cross-origin resource sharing headers on their server by adding new.example.com. So this is similar to what we do on Render. Okay, so Render is your partner. Okay, you have added your course origin header. Okay, that is your Vercel site. Okay, to the allowed origins list. They do this by adding the below line to their server configuration file. Okay, so this line. Okay, cool. Once course access is configured, news.example.com can request resources from partnerapi.com. For every request, partnerapi.com will respond with access allow credentials true. Similar to this, right? Access allow credentials true and access control allow origin is this. Got it. The browser then knows the communication is authorized and permits cross origin access. Okay. Yeah, as you can see over here, it would call it cross site. Okay. So that's something that it calls. Later, I'll show you something else also. If you want to grant access to multiple origins, use a comma-separated list or wildcard characters like star that grant asterisks, that grant access to everyone. Okay, cool. So what is a course pre-flight request? In HTTP request, methods are the data operations that the client wants the server to perform. I totally messed up that sentence, but yes. Common HTTP methods include get, post, put, delete. In a regular cross-origin resource sharing interaction, the browser sends the request and access control headers at the same time. These are usually get data requests and are considered low risk. However, some HTTP requests are considered complex and require server confirmation before the actual request is sent. The pre-approval process is called pre-flight request. I think this is what it's all about, pre-approval. Okay, get ones probably don't need it, but the other ones that are actually playing with the data might need a pre-flight request, which is a pre-approval process. Awesome. Complex cross-origin requests, okay, are complex if they use these things. Okay, so for this you need your right methods other than get, post or headers other than accept language, accept or content language. Okay, okay, content type. All right. How pre-flight requests work? Okay, I'm just going to go through these. Okay, you have your pre-flight request, pre-flight response, and then you have your actual request and actual response. Okay, cool. Best practices. Okay, let's just read it. Yeah, what is the difference between CORS and JSON-P? JSON with padding is a historical technique that allows communication between web applications running on different domains. With JSON-P, you use HTML script tags in the client page. The script tag loads external JavaScript files or embeds JavaScript code directly within an HTML page. Because scripts aren't subject to the same origin policy, you can retrieve cross-origin data through JavaScript code. Okay. However, the data must be in JSON format. Also, JSON-P is less secure than CORS because it relies on the trustworthiness of the external domain to provide safe data. Okay, so some kind of headers you add. Yes. Best practices are define appropriate access lists, I think who all can access, and avoid using null origin in your list because that would mean anybody can, unauthorized requests can be. Cool, so this was an awesome article. I had a lot of fun understanding this. One more thing that I realized actually while doing this, and I'm sorry, but this is something that I manufactured. Okay, this is not what was actually used. The cross site. Okay, please look at this, the cross site one. Okay, the whole existence of render over here. Okay, these things weren't actually what was happening in my real code before I changed it. Okay, this was happening, same origin. Okay, it's still the same login functionality that we're doing. Okay, we're still doing login. Okay, and it was just, okay, this is still true, but it was all same origin. Okay, there's no render over here in picture, and that I was a little confused as to what was happening, but I later understood that it isn't, it's this what was happening. So this diagram and this that we talked about is not wrong. Okay, it is used in places, the cross site, the render. Okay, but what we used instead was this, where the browser only talks to Vercel and Vercel talks to render, and everything's happening between the browser and Vercel. Okay, so you have your front end static build, compiled one side deploy, rewrite, proxy, forwards to render. So this is where render and Vercel talk to each other, and you have your Flask API which handles the request, and Postgres which stores app data. Okay, so this was server to server, no CORS was involved because that is for browser. So here basically your front end is pretty self-sufficient, right? It is the one that needs to talk to your render, not the browser. Okay, so here things weren't happening cross-origin when it came to the browser. It was happening server to server between Vercel and render. But to understand CORS, this was the right concept and this was the right way to do it. Okay, so this is what we had done. Okay, we fetched from library management, and what we did change was the whole Vercel thing. Okay, so Vercel, this is what our script is, and this is how this thing works. Okay, where you have your source, which is the API path. So you have your API login, right? Auth login. And here you have your destination, which is your render. Okay, but it was actually, if you see my GitHub code, then it wouldn't be render, it was Vercel. Okay, so yes, that is CORS for you. I think we've gained a lot of understanding on this subject, and yeah, I genuinely had a fun time understanding it. Thank you.